thank you for waking us all up out here, for all you do.
Thank you for giving us a voice.
For being out there helping to keep the constitutional republic.
I want to thank you for
your support for veterans in the military.
Educating us.
Standing up for conservatism.
Giving us the truth.
Daybreak with Drew Steele.
Wow, where do you want to start? A lot of news. The circus came to town in Washington, D.C. It was quite the circus yesterday. All right, and like Hunter Biden led the way. He's like the ringleader. Hunter Biden as the circus ringleader. Take a second and think about that with the top hat and the... Right, didn't they... The circus leaders, they have a top hat and a cane, and they come out with the tails, right? The jacket with the tails, and... Or am I old school? I'm trying to picture a circus. I haven't been to a circus in so long. Anyway, get rid of the elephants. I'm out. Anyway, the point is that it was a hot mess, it felt like yesterday. Plus, again, here we go. More and more attempts by the left to try and get Trump off the ballots, people believing something that doesn't exist, that isn't going to happen about Trump. It's just so much news out there. Congressman Byron Donald is joining us on Daybreak, 92.5 Fox News. It's his Thursday visit, and we appreciate him always getting up a little earlier to hang out with us. First of all, how's things? How's the circus? How you doing over there?
Drew, I've just been back for one day.
One day. Well, they missed you, and they wanted to bring the circus to town. So, yeah.
One day, Drew. I mean, look. So let's just talk about the Oversight Committee. Obviously, that's all the rage.
Yeah.
So we're in conference yesterday, and the members are discussing the spending deal that Speaker Johnson cut with Chuck Schumer, and so there are members who are like, okay, that's fine, and there are other members who are upset about the deal. So I get a text message from my staff, and they go, "Hey, we're hearing Hunter Biden's going to show up at the committee," and I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, come on, no way." And they're like, "Yeah, this is what we're hearing." I'm like, "All right, well, I'm on my way to committee." When I get to committee, he's sitting there in the front row. And I'm just like, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, look, this guy is playing games. And, like I said yesterday in the hearing, a couple of the members were going back and forth about white privilege, Republicans and Democrats. Oh, this is white privilege. Oh, this is not white privilege. And I'm like, man, stop. This is Democrat privilege. A Republican could not do this. Could you imagine Donald Trump Jr. ignoring a congressional subpoena, giving a speech at the Senate side the day and the time he's supposed to be in the House, being deposed, and then when the congressional Democrats bring up the contempt litigation in the hearing, he comes in and sits down? Like, this stuff is wild to me. Yeah. And at the end of the day, they're all like, "Oh, but Hunter has had a rough life, and this has happened, and that has happened." Well, you know what? Tough. A bunch of people have had rough lives. Things have not worked out for a bunch of people in our country. That doesn't give them the right to ignore a congressional subpoena. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
And so their only argument was to bring up 3 members of Congress who ignored the subpoenas from the phony January 6th committee. That was their argument.
Wow.
A committee that wasn't even constituted the way any other committee in the history of Congress was supposed to be constituted. That's number one. Number two, the January 6th committee, Drew, they didn't even try to attempt to find a way to enforce their subpoenas. They just threw it out there because they wanted a show. They wanted a spectacle. That's number two. And then the Democrats were all like, well, if you guys actually adhere to the subpoenas given to you, then, yeah, we'll vote to hold Hunter Biden in contempt. And we're like, the January 6th committee doesn't even exist anymore. Comply with a subpoena for a committee that doesn't even exist? Like, this stuff is so stupid.
Right.
So that was the start of yesterday.
The beginning of your day.
Yes.
And so, a couple of things come to mind with this. The first thing is, now do we see why you that in Congress that you wanted to be able to get a deposition behind closed doors? Because do you see now a taste of what the circus would have been like in front of the cameras, with him being there with cameras on and the protections that Democrats were going to give him as they were doing anyway yesterday. That was just a taste of what it would have been like, and trying to get to the truth, that part of it. The second part is, again, how anyone can say that, look, if you ignore a subpoena, if it's any other private citizen, if it's me, if it's Jake, if it's Ian, if it's well, maybe not like any other. Well, if you're a Democrat, of course, it's a different story. But private citizens in general, I mean, you can't do that, and so we see the how the justice system has been working lately. All of this, I think, begs the question: have they gone? Well, part of it is, have they gone too far? Even with some of the news that has come out yesterday, where Engren is rescinding the offer for Trump to be able to deliver closing arguments and to speak for himself in a court case, which is an outrageous thing to do. All of this has to culminate into people just questioning, what in the world is going on here. Maybe your thoughts on all of that.
They have gone too far. I mean, look, the Democrats back during the 2020 elections, their big thing was saving the soul of America. And look at what's happening to our institutions. But the people who are destroying them are the Democrats. I go back to this simple thing of a subpoena. Look, you can quibble about whether members of Congress can be subpoenaed by other committees. You could have that argument outside of the Ethics Committee. You can have that argument. You could go back and forth. If you're a private citizen, you cannot ignore a congressional subpoena.
Yeah.
You just simply can't. It could be ridiculous, but you have to answer the subpoena. You got to show up. For this guy to just be like, yeah, I ain't going. Hey, Eric Swalwell, reserve me space so I can give a speech to the cameras. And it was a terrible speech, by the way, Drew. It wasn't even a good speech. So you give a speech instead of going and sitting your butt in Congress and doing your deposition. It destroys the institution. It's bigger than that. You have what's happening at the southern border, right? Mm-hmm. It is outrageous. The president is not even fulfilling his oath to faithfully execute the laws of the land. And nobody is, except for Republicans, nobody else is even saying, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And to be blunt, Drew, you even have some Republicans on Capitol Hill who are like, yeah, it's not good, but we can't shut down the government. I mean, why would we do that? Oh. And I look at these guys and I'm like, because the government's not doing its job. Do you pay? Listen, Ian's the engineer. He's the producer today on the show, right?
Yep.
If Ian doesn't let the calls come in, is 92.5 Fox News going to pay Ian? No, they're going to fire him. Sorry, Ian, not to bring that up.
Thanks for firing Ian into the conversation. Yeah. Go ahead.
So this is what's going on.
Yeah.
This judge in New York, right? Or Energon, Engeron, whatever his name is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what his name is.
Yep.
You're not even going to let Trump give his own closing argument?
Right.
What kind of insanity is this?
Right.
This is insane stuff. All of the rights that are ensconced in our Constitution, the Bill of Rights themselves, they were designed to protect defendants and they were designed to protect citizens from the government. They weren't there to empower the government. They were to limit the government. That's the very essence of our country. And you got these knucklehead radical Democrats who, by the day, now are finding any possible way to undermine the basic protections of the Bill of Rights for their own agenda or to win an election.
Yeah.
If anybody's destroying institutions, it is the Democrat Party.
Yeah. I forgot. Did you go on The View once?
Drew, why do you think they don't invite me on The View? This is why. Because you think I would sit there and listen to this foolishness?
No.
This is ridiculous.
Have they ever reached out? They haven't reached out to you, have they?
No. Well, actually, we reached out because they were talking.
Yeah.
I think I came up on the show,
yeah.
And I reached out, and I was like, "Look, I'm here. I'll answer."
Yeah.
And the crickets, no response.
Yeah. But that's an important. But that's an important thing, and I'll say this. It's one of the things that people have appreciated about you since you have been in office is that. And it's something that we've had the conversation. I talked to many politicians in the past about not being afraid to go to the places that people don't expect you to go. And especially when you're able to articulate a message and be able to push back against what is like this nonsense. And you have to do it. And you've done that many times, gone on to networks that were not exactly friendly to Republicans to do that. It is, I think your voice is an important voice, and especially to go on The View and to sit with them. I would love that. I encourage you. You got to do it. You got to push harder. You got to get that.
I would do it.
You should do a Hunter.
Because,
why don't you? Hey, why don't you do a Hunter Biden? Why don't you just walk in one day? Just show up. Just walk in and be sitting there in the audience. Just sit there in the audience, front row, when all the ladies come in.
Because here's what I know is going to happen. Number one, they're still not going to let me on.
No.
And then I will die of brain damage because I had to sit through the show. And I don't
yes, he did. Yes,
I like my brain. I think I'm smart, and I'm going to keep it intact.
He likes his brain.
I like my brain.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, but seriously, the propaganda that's coming from the left about this election cycle, this is the stuff that destroys the nation.
Right.
This is the stuff that divides a people. These crazy people are all like, oh, he wants to be dictator for life. Gosh, you figure a comedian would understand a joke. All he said was, oh, yeah, I'll be dictator for a day, tongue in cheek. Because what do you do? Sign an executive order on the border. The same thing that Joe Biden did when Joe Biden walked into the White House. By the way, that Biden EO was a disaster. Yeah. And everybody knows that it's a disaster. We now have kids in New York who are being displaced from their schools so migrants can have shelters?
Yep.
What? This is the insanity of Joe Biden's America? But you're going to talk about how Donald Trump made a joke about being a dictator for a day, and now she says it like it's serious, that, oh, no more elections, he's going to be a dictator for life.
Right, as if
cats and dogs are going to be living together.
As if he hasn't been in office. As if he hasn't been in office before. It's like, if he gets into office, what are you talking about? He's already been there. Man, I know. It's it's quite the position you're in, being there in D.C. all the time.
You're going to like this one.
Yeah, tell me.
You'll like this one.
We got a minute.
So later on in the Oversight Committee, right? This was later in the day.
Yeah.
The Democrats produced their report on Donald Trump, on his quote-unquote violations of the emoluments clause.
Oh, boy.
And this is the craziest thing. And so in their report, they cite that he received $7.8 million from foreign countries, right, when he was president.
Right.
So we're like, what do you mean he received $7.8 million? Where's your evidence? They went and pulled the receipts of hotel stays at the Trump hotels by foreign dignitaries. And we're like, you do realize he had a real estate empire, a global one, before he was president? Like, the hotels are nice. People like staying there. Yeah, guess what? Dignitaries have stayed at the Trump hotels for a long time, way before he was president, and way after he was president. Oh, and then the funniest part was in their amassing this dollar amount, part of it was HOA fees for the condos in his condominium complexes, one of which is next to the United Nations. So you have foreign dignitaries that have bought condos in the Trump building near the UN because, it's close to work. And they pay the HOA fees, and that's part of it. It's so stupid.
Wow.
And this is their counter argument to Biden.
Right.
And so we're telling them, like, he owns real estate. Everybody knows this. Yeah. This is not a shock. Drew, usually in the real estate business, if you own it, people stay in that stuff, and you get paid for it. It's kind of how the business works.
Yeah, it is.
Unlike the Bidens, where there is no business, but you're getting money.
Yeah, that's no doubt about it. All right, we got to jump.
Like I said, Drew, just been here one day.
That's it, just one day. Congressman Byron Donald is joining us on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News. All right, my friend. Listen, have a great day. We appreciate you. All the best.
See you, Drew.
Just one day. He's back one day. One day and the circus comes to town. Look at that. Who doesn't love a circus? Top 5 audio clips of the day up next.
Fox News headlines, plus Wink News traffic and weather. Coming up in less than 3 minutes.
As soon as possible.
On 92.5 Fox News. Right. All along.